Hey everyone and welcome back. In today's video I want to show you how you can transition from one background to a different background. So in a frame-by-frame animation we do have to think about, okay, if we're playing our animation at 12 frames per second, we should be animating thinking in increments of 12. So for this demonstration I'm just going to do this for over the course of 2 seconds. So I have 24 frames total. Just a reminder, these are our settings that we're working with. We have 12 frames per second. You can always do more than this, and it would achieve a smoother look in your animation. I have my onion skins turned on so I could see the previous frame. And the rest of this I'm not going to worry about too much. So I have this city setting here, and I eventually want to get to more of like an alleyway setting. So I have this city setting that I made using 2 vanishing points and a horizon line. I want my animation to have this background for 2 seconds. So that means I need 24 frames of just this background. And then on the 25th frame is when I would change to my new background. Let me turn this off, hide it, and turn this one back on. This is the alleyway I want to show when I change my scenery. So I'm gonna go ahead and, because I know I need 2 seconds worth of my city background, I'm going to come in and just duplicate this frame until I have 24 of this city frame. Okay, so I now have 24 frames of this city. So what I want to make is something called a transition. It's what happens between different types of shots or scenes or camera angles, right? So to successfully pull off a transition, I need to do it slowly. So maybe on frame 20 is where I'll start my transition. And the transition I want is going to be more like a fade to black, and then the new one will happen on frame 25. So I'm going to start at frame 20, and I'm sure there's many ways we could do this. I'm just going to do it this way, and I'm going to choose like a darker shade of gray. And choose a brush that I think will be good. This might take you some experimenting, but this is what I'm gonna do for this one. And I'll make sure that this is a big size. So on my 20th frame, I'm gonna start to create a fade. So this is gonna slowly get darker. So here's frame 19, here's frame 20. Frame 21, I'm going to make even darker. Frame 22, same thing. I'm just going to keep going darker and darker and darker until I eventually just... Okay, so now when I scroll through this, it slowly fades to black here. My city background is on 25 frames. let's go to my alley, the alleyway that I created. I'm gonna add a blank frame here. So that way I have 26 frames. But here's what's happening right now is because the city only has 25 frames, it's still it's looping back to the first frame. To problem solve that, I'm gonna add a bunch of blank frames to my city layer. I'm just gonna work in increments of 12 because that will make things a little easier. Okay, so 26, I start to come into this new background. So I'm gonna work with shades of gray again. And you know what? I think I'm actually just gonna duplicate this frame. Okay, I want to achieve the effect of this slowly fading to a new background. I'm realizing this shade of gray is a little lighter, so I'm just going to change the order of these two frames. Because I want it to go from dark to light to slowly reveal a new scene. This one I'm going to go even lighter. Okay, that's a little too light. I'll come in here and go over it one more time. So when I'm going back here to check on my work and see how different is each frame. Will it help me achieve a nice smooth transition from my city to my alleyway scene? Let's go ahead and hit play all and see what happens. I would say that's pretty good. I'm going to call that a pretty good transition. I'll play it again. So slowly fades to dark and then changes to a new scene. I'll loop it. So that's a really basic way to do a transition. I think it would be great to experiment with, you know, maybe instead of just the fade in, fade out, maybe this whole thing would, you know, the screen would go black, but it would go from like the bottom up to the top. Or we could have like a zipper effect, so it comes from the left corner to the right bottom corner. There's a variety of ways you can include transitions here, so I hope this video was helpful in just showing you a really simple way to transition from one scene to the next.